good and hot. That's so cool. Hey guys, welcome back to Sage and Stone Homestead. My name is Heather. So we are smack dab in the middle of a heat wave. This is actually day 2 of likely 4 days worth of extreme heat that we're gonna have here in our area of the country, which is southwestern Kentucky. Admittedly, this summer really hasn't been bad. We've had a couple random day or 2 heat waves, but not anything compared to what we had last year during the drought, where we had weeks on end of 100+ degree feels like temperatures, and I'm really grateful that our summer hasn't been like that. But these animals, you can see I've got some bunnies in the shed here right now. They have really enjoyed the relatively mild summer that we've had, and I brought these rabbits inside our air-conditioned Homestead overflow shed out here just because they're not used to it. They haven't had a chance to acclimate into this temperature. We've been in the mid-80s the past couple weeks, and now we have feels like temperatures of up to 115, and that's too much for these heavy body rabbits. So these girls are cozy in here, but this isn't what we're doing today. We're not talking about rabbits. We're actually moving some of the goats, kind of. I'm moving their fence and allowing them to do a little bit of yard work for me. Today, the heat hasn't been too terrible. We've got some clouds, and every once in a while the cloud goes over the sun and gives us a little bit of a respite from the heat. So I have been outside working, and I am drinking electrolytes, so don't worry. But these guys, we recently put these 3 Nigerian goats in this area here. They had been in our backyard. I've since mowed it, but I wish I took a before picture. I don't know if I did. If I did, I'll put it right here. But these guys have really done a great job eating this down. We bought this Premier One netting earlier in the year, and we didn't get too much of a chance to really use it outside of just extending our current pastures because we didn't have a little shelter built. As you can see, we don't have much in the way of trees around here, and so we really need these mobile shelters like this in order to provide shade because it's just too hot for them to not have it. So Levi built this really awesome mobile shelter. I'm actually not going to be moving this today, and I'm not really going to be moving this fence. What I'm actually doing is linking them up with my second row or line of fencing that I have here. I'm just making their area a little bit bigger. That shelter is movable. It's just hard for me to move, so I'm not going to move it. I'm just going to extend their area. We have a lot of these really tall weeds, and they are pretty thick, and they're kind of a pain in the butt for me to deal with my weed whacker or by hand. I actually have some decent issues with my elbow, and a day's worth of pulling these kinds of weeds really does hurt my elbow. So my chiropractor, he said, Heather, put those goats to use. Work smarter, not harder. So that's the goal for today. I need the goats to clean up this area around our storm shelter. So yeah, here is our underground storm shelter. I have not been in here in a little while. We need to go in there and make sure everything is okay. The company that put this shelter in for us said that we might have to open it periodically in the off season in order to kind of let it air out, wipe down the walls because it is a little bit humid down there and moisture does collect. And I also want to make sure, oh crap, that might be my answer. I was gonna say, I also want to make sure that there's not like a giant wasp nest being created down there, which there might be. No wasp nest that I can tell. This is where they'd be. This is where the ventilation is for the storm shelter. The rest of this is sealed. Whew. It's a lot cooler down here than it is outside, and it doesn't look too bad in here. There's actually no condensation. Oh, I lied. The walls are a little bit damp, but I have this down here, this damp rid. I need to put another one down here because this one is basically used up, but it's not too bad down here. So I think I'm comfortable leaving the goats in this area for probably a couple of weeks. I don't think we're going to be needing the storm shelter in August. At least I really hope not. So I've set up this section, and the goal is to just kind of pull out a couple of these poles here and connect the 2 sections. I set this line of fencing up off camera, and I was messing around over here, and I wish I was filming because I did shock myself really good. That's the first time that I've done that with this fencing. I can say it was a very shocking experience. I actually felt it in my feet which might make sense to some of you. Doesn't exactly make sense to me, but I felt it in my feet probably a good second before I even heard it or registered what happened. Before that happens again, I'm actually gonna be turning that off. The fencing that we bought is the Permanet Pro, and it comes with these posts that you can drive, which I knew was going to be really important. We have nothing but clay soil here, and it's really nice when you have gotten quite a lot of rain. These guys just sink right in without any effort. But when it's been a little bit dry, the top, I don't know, 6 inches of soil just becomes like concrete, and so being able to use a hammer is so vital. As you can see where the corners are at, it just really tends to just drag the whole fence down inward. And I'd like it to be taut so that it keeps the goats in. That's the whole goal. So I've got this post here. I don't remember what these are called, but it's really useful to have something like this. This allows us to tie the corners off and create that needed tension. You can see they've made it out here already, which is awesome. The electricity is not hooked up. There's a couple little holes that I'd like to fix. These landscape staples are awesome for tying down this bottom bit of cord here. The very bottom, the black line, is not electrified, and it's great to be able to just staple it down with these. That took a little less than 30 minutes and I'm pouring sweat. It is so hot outside. I really need to go out there and test the voltage on that fencing, but I'm not gonna do it until I cool down. Doesn't seem like a good day to push myself, so I'm not going to. Actually, this morning I came out to do chores and noticed that Mochi had his whole head through the fencing and was eating grass on the other side of the fence. Turns out that I forgot to re-electrify the fence yesterday after giving them water. So those 3 little Nigerians, they really don't push that fence too badly, so I'm not worried about it. So we're gonna switch gears for just a little bit so I can cool down. We will check the voltage on that fencing as well as see how the girls are doing in the heat in just a little bit. But the freeze dryer, it's done. It's actually been done for a couple hours. I had some cherry tomatoes in here. This is what they come out looking like. They're really cool. I actually don't plan on rehydrating these ever, though I could. They're actually a really great snack. Very poppable, a lot like popcorn. Kind of crazy. Can you guys pick up the crackling? It's so cool. I'm actually out of half-gallon jars. I need to pick some more up at the store today. This is my favorite way to store our freeze-dried goodies for short term. If I was to store it or want to store it for longer than probably about a year, 18 months, I'd want to use a Mylar bag. But we plan on eating these up over the winter, and I really like the way that this looks. Makes me happy to see our produce on display like that. So for now, I'm just going to be packing these into Ziploc bags until I can get them into a vacuum sealed mason jar. I do have plenty of quart jars right now, but I'm trying to save those because meat season is coming up. We have 2 seasons here on our homestead. We have vegetable season and we have protein season, and I like to use my wide mouth mason jars to can up our rabbit, and I really want to try canning up ground meat this year. I'm actually chronically very horrible at remembering to take the meat out of the freezer in order to have time for it to thaw so I can cook it, and I feel like having some ground meat on hand will be really helpful. Let me show you what these are like. It's pretty cool. Oh, it's incredible. Actually, I like that a lot more than popcorn, and it's probably better for me anyway. So good. gonna throw a little desiccant pack just for good measure so that any of the humidity that's in the air here will just not be absorbed into my tomatoes. All this white that's on the tray, this is just leftover salt. I did salt these before we put them in the freeze dryer. All right, so the solar Energizer is way over there by the greenhouse. And so all the energy has to go all the way around through all this grass and stuff and hopefully be hot enough to still affect them on this side. I'm not sure how hot this is really gonna be. Usually you can hear the grass that's on the ground here kind of reacting to the voltage. So we'll see if it's hot enough for these Nigerians. So I've got this little probe here that goes into the ground, and then we'll test it with this side. Yeah, we are getting a little bit of voltage on the bottom wire, which surprises me. There's a lot of grass touching it all the way around, and so I wasn't sure. Oh yeah, she's good and hot. Okay, it says that it's measured in kilovolts. So what we really want is at least 3,000 kilovolts. The bottom wire is not that. It is just over 1,000 kilovolts, but as we go up, that second wire is at 7,000 kilovolts, which is plenty. I'm really glad that I bought this Permanet Pro because it's designed to handle kind of a heavy weed load, and it does really well despite that. Oh, nobody's home. Going in yellow. Go get it. Hello, girls. How are ya? I don't know if you can tell, but Elpis really is gaining weight. She was real skinny. Busy. I barely see you. This tall, darker stuff here, this is broom sedge. A lot of them are probably not going to eat that. We have been mowing down the broom sedge every year, but we keep getting to it a little bit too late. It almost doesn't seem to matter because it seems like even if you cut it down, it will still go to seed even when it's really short. It's very persistent stuff. Looks like most of them are preferring this lower down, lighter green stuff. Don't really blame them. How are you holding up? Is it hot? It's a little hot. Yeah. In general, the goats do pretty well in the heat. They seem to be able to regulate their body temperatures pretty well. They will pant like a dog, and the ones with horns really can help cool down their body with those horns. Hey, Stormy girl. Are you gonna eat a little broom sedge? Mm. You're a pretty girl. I'm a pretty girl. Mm-hmm. Is that you, Tori? How you doing? Hi. My camera actually died out in the sun in the pasture, but I noticed that Elpis had come back to the barn and she was crying all alone. Elpis is my one goat that does tend to overheat or seem to feel more hot than the others, and she's always really liked to be doused in water, which goats don't always like, but she seems to understand or realize that it's helping her out. noticed that in our buck area we had one rabbit that was starting to drool. That is not a good sign. We have absolutely lost rabbits to heat stroke before, and drooling is definitely one of those signs that has me taking further action than I already have. And today that meant bringing him inside here in the AC. I also have some really cool designated rabbit ice packs. They are flat, and that allows the rabbit to lay on them, to lick them, and it's a really nice thing to give them on a super hot day. So guys, stay cool out there wherever you're at. Stay hydrated, make sure you're getting your electrolytes. I actually have a couple relevant videos to throw in at the end here. Last year, like I mentioned, was super hot. I took this video with more tips and tricks on how to handle the heat with your animals. And down here is a video of when we first got that Premier One netting and how we trained our goats to respect it.